SoCon John Hooper. We've been talking. There's always something to talk about college basketball. I mean, you got the draft here in 2 days. I guess no, 3 days. No, Thursday. So yeah, does Jordan Bone get selected? Not really a SoCon presence there, but I saw one ranking from NBA.com that had Admiral Schofield going ahead of Grant Williams. There you go. But we want, yeah. Well, there you go. Because Grant Williams, it turned out, wasn't even 6'7". Tennessee being a little bit, they're known to spread the propaganda around a little bit, lay it on a little thick down there, I guess. Hey, it's SoCon John Hooper doesn't do that, and he didn't do that when he was ranking the Southern Conference quarterbacks on Medium. And this was actually some time ago. This was back on April 27th, about 6 weeks ago. But we talked about it at the time, and you had the top returning quarterback being Tyree Adams of Western Carolina, and then you had the worst quarterback situation of the conference being ETSU. Although it wasn't officially announced, you knew that Chance Thrasher was coming to ETSU. Now you have Cade Weldon coming in from Miami as well. So let me ask you this. Now that Weldon is in the fold, if you had to rank them again, is ETSU still number 9? Oh, boy. You see, he's out buying a suit. Okay, here we go. All right, let me do this again here. I hope that this is coming through. SoCon John Hooper, would you still rank ETSU with Weldon in the fold number 9? Or would you have Samford with Chris Oladokun as the projected starter be the worst quarterbacking situation, in your opinion, coming into the year?
Well, I think that ETSU upgraded, I think. I think the pedigree will help.
This is getting tough here listening. The pedigree helps because his father, of course, was a Heisman runner-up at Florida State. You're coming through better? I'm just not getting you here. I hate to do this to you, because I usually stick through staticky calls and all that. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do that. Let me just run down here and see if this is... I'm going to try this one more time. I'm disconnecting, but these are his quarterback. Here we go. We're going to try this one more time. Boy, I hope you buy the greatest suit. He's at a mall right now. His sister is getting married. This is one of the reasons why I'm actually for this whole marrying for love thing. It's only about 300 years old and all that. I'm telling you, arranged marriages. Spoken like a true 48-year-old bachelor. I think that's the way to go. But no, the question is, if you were ranking the SoCon quarterbacks now, do you rank Samford or do you rank ETSU dead last?
I'd probably go with Samford right now just because, I'd probably raise ETSU a couple of levels based on, I think Thrasher's going to be decent. I think, Weldon, given the pedigree, as I said, will be solid. And I think that, if you look back to last year, Herrick was a quarterback that was, not what somebody would call the best in the league, but certainly one of the guys that was a winner. And that's really all you need if you have a good defense returning, as ETSU does. And they have some weapons on offense, obviously, with Quay Holmes. And I think the real question mark, maybe more than quarterback, will be wide receiver and maybe tight end.
Well, wide receivers, you ranked ETSU as having the worst. We talked about this before, and you think that there are as many as 7 teams in the Southern Conference that could win the title, one of them being ETSU, because, as you said, Holmes, who you rank as the best running back in the conference returning, only a sophomore, and also coming off shall we say, Ernest Biner-like fumble at the end of the Jacksonville State playoff game. But regardless here, oh boy, we really are having trouble with SoCon John Hooper, aren't we? I'm going to keep trying. Yeah, anyway, he's got that now. He mentioned the tight ends. For ETSU, he has the Buccaneers ranked as having the second best tight end in the league in Evan Wick, behind only Owen Kasenke of Western Carolina. That's kind of interesting because Western would figure to have a pretty good passing combination then, throwing to their tight end. So that's one of the cases. One of the things that SoCon John Hooper does not like necessarily is the offensive line of ETSU because they lose Matt Pyle. And in fact, he's got the Buccaneers ranked all the way down to number 7 because of that. Top line, this is not that surprising. Wofford, you figure the mobile lineman and the wishbone or the option offense, that sort of thing. 4 or 5 starters do return for ETSU, but I think I said Pyle. I meant Matthew Pike is just not is not returning. So let's see here. Let me try to turn that on. You can probably hear this over the microphone. We're going to try SoCon John again. Boy, doesn't this sound right. Anyway, Clemson just beat out Florida State for a commitment of some sort. I see that. We have the dialing. This is wonderful radio, isn't it? I feel like David Letterman sort of waiting for someone to call, and he's just, making the, sort of sarcastic comments, if you will. Oh, well, it doesn't look like this is going to work, so I'm going to have 8 minutes to kill without SoCon. All right, yeah, no, that's okay. SoCon John, his sister is getting married, you see, and so he was actually talking to me on his cell phone from one of the leading malls in the Piedmont, looking at buying a navy blue suit, he said. This is why I have all these, wonderful garments and coats that you can see me on Facebook wearing at any given time. All right. I said, here, Appalachian. I want to remind you tomorrow, I mentioned the Asian House, and it's not open today, but really you want to think about them for catering at any time here. GoAsianHouse.com. They're open Tuesday through Sunday right there on the way to Jonesboro on Market Street. Shops on West Market. And just tremendous lunch menu. I mean, I know you're listening at this time, so we're looking at that. The Appalachian League baseball season begins. I wanted, though, to talk a little bit more about the majors because, like I said, it is very frustrating that here it is the day before the Appalachian League season begins, and you really have no idea who is going to play for the various teams. I mean, Johnson City, they're bringing back Benito Santiago. It appeared they've sent down John Torres and Malcolm Nunez. And then you got 2 players who just don't want to be here because they started off in Peoria and full season A, Midwest League, hit below 200, both of those players. They're ranked among the top prospects of the Cardinals, but that could mean nothing. They didn't even hit 200. So come down to Johnson City. Like I said, so it really is frustrating, I think, that so many of the teams just don't know who's going to play for them. And it's the Appalachian League season beginning. Tomorrow, all the the Tri-Cities Appalachian League teams are at home, with the exception of the Kingsport Mets. Mets are on the road. So they will be at Greenville, as I said. Some other baseball news, though, getting to this. Of course, Christian Yelich is having a wonderful season. He's leading the majors in home runs. Also, among the leaders in steals. Now, talked about 40-40 men, Jose Canseco, home runs and steals. Stolen base is kind of going a little bit out of style. Maybe it's not 1950 when Dom DiMaggio led the American League with 15 stolen bases. But we're now in this age of analytics and launch angles. Everyone's trying to hit 3-run homers, even when 2 men aren't on base. I don't know what the analytics say about that, but you can look at the records themselves right there. Anyway, there have not been that many players, and this is something to follow with Christian Yelich. Brewers are back in first place by a game. Dodgers and Cubs, of course, played this weekend. And some people were saying, could this be a preview of the League Championship Series? Possibly. Then again, I mean, it's the Brewers in first place, in large part because of Yelich. And there are only 3 other players who have ever led the league in home runs and steals. And by the way, 2 of them did it in the dead ball era. One of them, Ty Cobb, 1909. Tigers' 3rd straight pennant. Lost to the Pirates in the World Series. I know that. Cobb won a Triple Crown that year. He led the majors with a whopping 9 home runs. At least he led the American League. I'm not sure who led the National League in 1909. Forgive me. Anyway, Ty Cobb did, but obviously Cobb at one time, the most prolific base stealer in Major League history before Lou Brock came along. So, yeah, Ty Cobb, Triple Crown season 1909, led the majors in both home runs and steals. A guy named Jimmy Sheckard did it in 1903. This is all I know about Jimmy Sheckard. I can't even tell you. I should know this. Is it somewhere? Sheckard, who did he play for? Cubs. Okay. There you go. I knew he didn't play for the Pirates. I would have recognized that. Anyway. 1902, Tommy Leach led the National League in home runs. He had 6 of them. All inside the park. Anyway. There you go. But anyway, Jimmy Sheckard of the Cubs did it. The 3rd player, and it hasn't been done since 1932, was Chuck Klein. Klein's an interesting figure in baseball history. You look at his numbers, and it's one of the best numbers a hitter ever had in baseball history, but he played half his games in a park that was antiquated even in the era of the 30s and early and late 20s that Chuck Klein played in. It was the Baker Bowl in Philly, which was known as the Dump on the Hump. It's reported that they didn't have lawnmowers at the Dump on the Hump. They let livestock graze the outfield. It's reported that. But anyway, Baker Bowl wasn't 300 feet down the right field line. It was real easy to hit it was a bandbox. Even in the dead ball era, one year, Gavy Craveth hit 24 home runs to lead the majors. That was unheard of in the dead ball era, to hit 24 home runs in a season. Like I said, Ty Cobb led the American League with 9 in 1909. Okay, so this should tell you something about what that was like back in those days. And so Klein's numbers were really inflated because he played in Baker Bowl. When the Phillies moved out and when he wasn't playing in Baker Bowl, his numbers went way down. Last 5 years, he was a wartime player. He was past his prime. But even so, his last 5 years, he never hit above 218. So Klein's he's in the Hall of Fame, and he deserves it. I mean, past his prime years, you can't really, take that away from him, unless you're Dale Murphy. They seem to like to do that to him, but nevertheless. But yeah, someone to look at for Christian Yelich this year. It's one that home runs and steals. Could be the first player since Chuck Klein in 1932 to lead both of them. So there you go. All right, want to thank our guests as they were. We'll try to evaluate the positions, and tomorrow and next week when we talk to SoCon John Hooper, we'll go a little bit more into that, as well as talking about the Street and Smith's predictions of the Southern Conference, and we'll be talking more and more predictions as we have today as well. I'm sure we'll bring it up when I talk tomorrow to Caleb Calhoun, Asian House Vols Talk with Caleb Calhoun of All for Tennessee. We'll have that at 12:30. Of course, the Appalachian League season begins tomorrow as well. So I'll be here noon to 2 tomorrow. I'm Marky Billson. It's Tri-Cities Sports Now. Colin Coward is next.